Well, g'day and welcome back to the shed. And by popular vote, here on the bench is the chassis of that His Master's Voice console radio, the rat-infested one, and yeah, trust me, it was pretty bad. I did video the process of taking the chassis out of the cabinet, but I did it late in the afternoon outside because it was so filthy, and a lot of the video wasn't particularly usable, mainly because of the lighting conditions. So what I thought I'd do is I'll just take you back and show you highlights of the chassis removal, then I'll come back. At least the rat nest stuff is held together by the cobwebs. Makes it easier to take off. What's this? Old gramophone needle tin. Nothing in it. Ooh, what's that? Having cleaned that out, hopefully there's nothing else like that in there. The next thing I want to do is try and get the speaker out. I didn't pull the plug. At one point I think I did try and check the field coil from the plug and got nothing, but I'm not going to take too much notice of that. Well, there it is. Sorry about the lighting, the sun's getting quite low. That's one of the things with working outside. I'll take it in the shed in a minute, but look at this. Someone's, I guess, stuck the filter caps on the speaker. Okay, I can see the logic, but gee, talk about a cheap and dirty fix. Just looking at this speaker, I'm already confused. I assumed these were filter caps just put on here, but the two positives are joined together. It's such a mess, it's hard to see what's going on, but these are definitely the two positives of the caps. Okay, the positive of this one goes to this black wire, which goes to, I guess that's one side of the field coil. Yeah, sorry, the negative goes to the black wire. I guess that could be ground. The negative of this one goes to this wire back to the plug, and this wire is loose, which kind of explains why I didn't get a reading on the field coil from the plug. It looks like it's come off there. But these will be the two field coil wires, so let's find out whether we have signs of life. Just zero the meter, there we go, and times 100 say, and I'm looking for something like 10 or 15. So this is one side of the field coil, and this is, yep, oh, we've got something there. Hang on. Just over 1,000 ohms by this meter. So we've got continuity there. That is good. We're on a winner. I don't know what these are all about. That's got me beat. Why would you common up the two positives? Have the two negatives going, well, presumably across a field coil. That looks like that went there. So these are backwards. I don't know. Okay, so let's have a look at the voice coil, and it appears to be across these two here. So yeah, well, that's got continuity. I'll put it on 1 ohm. It's showing about 4 across there. Oh, I just heard a click from it too. There's obviously some residual magnetism in there. And the cone is good. You can see that from the, oh, it's reasonably good. You can see that from the front of the radio. It's intact at least. There's a bug's nest there. There's a tear in the edge there, just a little radial tear, but that's nothing to write home about. And it doesn't scrape. So I think that's a winner. It won't win any beauty contests, but it'll do the job. We'll get it looking a bit better than that though, I hope. Okay, well the next thing is to get the chassis out of this cabinet, and the first thing to do is to get the knobs off. Now, two of them just came off in my hand, and looking at them, they don't have grub screws in them at all. So those two are easy. I guess I'll have to find some grub screws for them. The other two, not so easy. I put a drop of WD-40 down each of them about half an hour ago. I'll see if I can shift the grub screws in these. At least I don't have to worry about the dial glass. Now, where are we? They're not going to work on the bench where the lighting's a little bit better. That one's coming, I think. Yes. Okay, we have ignition with that one. And that will just slide off. I think this tuning mechanism is completely seized. The outer knob turns, the inner one... No, I don't think it does anything. And I don't know what this knob is. I guess we'll find out in due course. It's either turning or mangling the head of the screw. It seems to be locked into something there. Yep, that feels good actually. Yes, okay. Well, that's half the battle. So I've managed to loosen off the square nuts underneath the chassis, and reluctantly poking my hand down there. We'll see. Yeah, that's coming out okay. Alright, here we go. This should... Yes. No other nasty surprises in there that I can see. There we go. No more dead animals in there that I can see at least, but it's pretty disgusting. I'm going to brush that off before I put it in the shed. So here we are. So the chassis looks complete, and those capacitors on the speaker were a bit bizarre, but apart from that it all looks as if no one's been in here much to speak of. The cord is very crunchy, so I'm not going to attempt to plug it in, and I suspect, although I haven't looked underneath yet, that it's full of wax paper caps, and this looks like the original electrolytic, so that probably hasn't been replaced. Anyway, let's have a look over this and see what we're up against. Just looking over the top of it, it all looks original at least. That magic eye tube thing is pretty rusty. I did try to take the tube out at one point to see if it was any good and put it back. That's some months ago now. The IF transformers still have paper seals over them saying that a competent serviceman has to adjust them, so I don't know if that includes me or not. Over here the output transformer looks like the original one. It does look as if it's always been there. I don't have much faith in these bitumen covered output transformers from HMV sets. The more recent ones anyway often seem to fail. Hopefully this one's alright, but I guess we can find a replacement one if we need to. Here's the rectifier tube. I don't know what that is. I thought at first it was a 5x3. It might be an 80. Over here we have the 6L6 output valve. What a big chunky thing that is. I know it works because I pulled it out. That's why it's cleaned, and tried it out in another radio. So at least I know that one works. Not too sure about the others. We'll find out as we go. Now the back panel, we've got an ARTS&P sticker there with a G prefix, so I'll have to look that up. I'm not exactly sure what year it is, but we'll soon find out. Gram pickup, those two sockets there. Off on, I don't know if that's a main power switch for the radio. Perhaps it's not on the front panel, I don't know. These two things, external speaker, look as if they've been replaced. They're plastic, still quite soft. Don't know what that's all about. And a little warning sticker not to take the plate off unless you disconnect the set. Around the front here we've still got a few bits of glass dials stuck in here. Should take them out before I cut myself on them. And the tuning mechanism, this turns, but the rest of the mechanism doesn't do anything. I hope I can repair that, because it could be difficult. I don't know. This, whatever it is seized solid. Same with that. So we've got a bit of work here. So I can't contain my curiosity any longer. I'm going to turn it up. I think it should sit on this side with the transformer down. At least I hope so. The bottom of this chassis is quite sharp. It doesn't have any kind of lip on it. We'll just see how we go. And you're seeing it before me because I can't really see around that side of the chassis yet. So that switch there, it's the band switch obviously. 1 meg pot there, that'll probably be tone or something. Another switch here, so maybe that's tone, that must be volume. Lots of paper caps, and just looking over it I can't see anything that's been replaced. It looks as if no one's been in here since the radio was built. Maybe to replace these these are just banana plugs stuck into the sockets, so they may be original, I don't know. I'll put them back in. Good little banana plugs, they're hard to come by. This will be a voltage selector of some kind. Let's get in a bit closer and have a look at that transformer. It does look, get these cobwebs out of the way. It's got some sign of being hot there, although it hasn't melted all over the place. We've got some crunchy, oh that's the power cord, that rubber wiring. That will have to go. Yeah, I guess all we can do is test it and see what it comes up with. I hope that's not open. We've got this fairly substantial wire wound, is that a resistor I guess, on here. I really need to get the schematic for this. Now the cabinet says model 411, so I'll see what I can find from Radio Museum. And here's the dial I've got for it. I bought this quite some time ago, and I'm not 100% sure it's the right one for this model. It is, I'm told, for a multi-band model, but as you can see I haven't opened it yet. I put it aside thinking I'll do that radio soon, and of course soon never came. So there we go. That looks like it will go on there okay. Obviously sits down behind these things. I'm not going to push it at the moment. I don't want to break it. So when we get all that cleaned up, we can put that back on, but in the meantime I'm putting it away safely until I've finished. Okay, so let's have a closer look at this transformer. There's the crunchy old power cord leads coming in. That one goes straight to the transformer, and this one goes up to this board, which I guess is the voltage selector. It looks, I think, like it goes to that top connection there. Yeah, so let's just see what we've got. We've got continuity across the primary there. Yep, we have. What's that? It's not a lot. That looks like about 20 ohms. Yeah, there'll be various taps, voltage taps. I think it's on this one here. Now looking at the transformer, it does look pretty crusty up here. That's been hot, I think. Oddly enough, this wire here doesn't seem to have been hot. That, maybe. And these wires here don't seem to have been affected, so I don't know. Anyway, with this, I'm not going to plug it in on dim bulb. What I might do is plug it in and just see, like with that, without the rectifier in it, and just see what heater voltage we got. That'll tell me if there's shorted turns on the primary or anything. I'll cut that off there. Cut that and take it out. Just taking the valves out in preparation to applying power to it, and just that one came off easily. And in there we have a 6K7 GT, and I think I borrowed this out of this radio previously to try something else, and I think it was okay. So I'll put that in there, and I'm writing myself a diagram because I have got, I think, the correct schematic for this. Possibly not this one, because this is for a model 420, so chassis is 630D. I have got one that I found for a 411, but I think it's identical to this. I'll just have to check. That means that this rectifier tube is a 5V4. Not sure what this one is. Yep, the valve, the grid cap is coming off easily. I don't want to break these, but if they come out easily, so much the better. So what have we got in here? It should be a 6K7 again, another one, according to this schematic. Gently. They've got a skirt around the bottom, so it's difficult to prise them up. I don't think these have been removed in a very long time. I might have to tip it up and try and press that one out from the bottom. There we go, 6K7. While I'm under here, I'll just press this one out from the bottom as well to help remove it. Oh, it's easy. It's easy. Okay. There we go. And this might be a 6J8 if the schematic's correct. This whole RF board is mounted on rubber, well, they used to be rubber mounts, presumably to stop vibration from affecting the tuning. I don't know how much difference that really made, but a lot of them did it, so there must be something in it. Radio manufacturers don't tend to waste money for no good reason. Yeah, this is a 6J8. Now all that remains really is the magic eye tube. Which is a what does it say it is on here? A 6U5, the usual, and that apparently unscrews from there. And no doubt it's seen better days. Okay, well, I guess we take this plate off here so I can access the mains wiring, and I'll attach a plug of some sort to it. And looking behind the cover panel there, that looks pretty ugly. We've got this crunchy old wire which was part of the power cord. So I'll put on a new temporary cord. I won't put on one of Carl's good ones just yet, because I did that once before and I burnt it with a soldering iron before I finished the job. So I'll leave a temporary cord on it till I've finished. So I'm just going to put a good old-fashioned knot in it as a temporary strain relief. I'll do something better for that than that for the final cord, and that should sit in there okay without causing any trouble. So I'll just take this panel off so that I can work on it better. It should be fine. So it's on the 260 volt tap. I'll leave it there for the time being, I think. Better to run it a little bit under than over. Okay, there we go. I suppose I could tack the earth on somewhere. I'll just tack the earth onto the chassis ground there. Okay, so here we go. I've got this meter hooked up to the secondary winding of the transformer, and this one is just showing the heater voltage. Now, I've got no valves in this at all, no rectifier in it. The speaker isn't connected, so hopefully this is relatively safe. But this is a rather unusual schematic. I'll show you in a minute what it does with the power supply, but it's pretty unusual. Anyway, it's on dim bulb. Let's just see what we get. 6 volts, and I'm showing, oh, it's showing 50 hertz. I really wanted to show the voltage. I'll just turn it off for a second. What's happening with this? I didn't want hertz, I wanted volts AC. So 769 volts on the secondary, 6.1 on the heaters. So look, that's probably okay. There's certainly nothing drastically wrong, and nothing has gone bang yet. Nothing sizzling, frying, smelling, smoking. So look, we might be okay with this transformer. I'm hoping so. These voltages don't mean anything really because they're unloaded, so we don't know what they will go down to in operation. The 6 volts I would imagine would stay pretty constant. Now we do have it on the 260 volt tap, so I would expect the heater voltage to be just a touch low because our line voltage here is around about 235 to 240. Okay, I've been looking at the schematic and it seems I may have been wrong in casting aspersions upon the person that put those capacitors the wrong way around on the speaker. It seems that's the way it is supposed to go. I haven't seen a power supply done this way before, although it all seems perfectly logical. So here's the cathode, and you've got B plus coming up here, goes to the combined positives of these two filter caps and up to the plates, of course. But not through the field coil. The field coil is fed through the centre tap. So this B plus is referenced only to the centre tap at this point. Until you plug the field coil in, it will have no reference to ground. So looking at it, I guess from a point of view of electron flow, it's a bit easier to look at it that way. We've got positive here, so no electrons. On the other side, this cathode is referenced to the isolated secondary winding, and electrons will flow through here along there, and I've marked that in blue for some reason, through the field coil and to ground there. So it works exactly the same as the normal arrangement, except backwards. So if we measure the B plus to the chassis, we probably won't get much. If we measure it to the centre tap, we should get the full B plus value. So let's just have a look at that. So let's put the rectifier valve in, and I'm willing to believe it's a 5V4 because the schematic says so. Haha. That probably is. So it can go in there. So turning it on, and we just get the quickest glow from the dim bulb, and this will probably come up fairly quickly. So I have this red lead here clipped to the plate of the 6L6 output valve. It's on pin 3, and measuring to ground, what do we got? 25 volts to ground. Bearing in mind the B plus does not go through the field coil, so it doesn't matter that the field coil is not in circuit, and that's just hanging around 26 volts, whatever. But if we measure plate to the center tap, and this wire here coming down from the transformer to this resistor here is the center tap, I guess that's just for current limiting. That goes on up to the speaker socket. So measuring to the center tap, we have 322 volts. Okay, so now measuring from the center tap to ground, being careful not to slip with the meter, we have minus 293 volts. So we've got that minus 293 volts flowing through the field coil and back to ground. And once the field coil's in place, then you would see the full plate voltage to ground, presumably. Okay, a couple of other things just maybe worth noting. That switch on the back, here it is here. What it does is it just puts a dummy load on the internal radio speaker and switches it out of circuit. That's if you have an external speaker plugged in. So you could have the external speaker with or without the internal speaker. Also over here at the RF end, the band switch only has two positions. It has short wave and medium wave. I thought it was a multi-band set. Apparently I was wrong. It has just the two settings, short wave and medium wave. And looking at the parts list here, 12-inch speaker and electrolytics, so it seems that they came as a package. So the filter caps, it appears, were originally mounted on the speaker. So just looking over the chassis, these capacitors here, having checked with the schematic, these are not electrolytics, neither is that one. The filter caps are on the speaker. There's no sign of a filter cap ever having been fitted down here, although there's certainly room for them. They could be put in here, but the solders on these sockets and the boards and everything look original. They've got yellow, I suppose, you can see it there a bit, clear paint on all of them, and they all look original. Nothing's been touched in here. So I don't believe that the filter caps were ever mounted on the chassis. I think they were on the speaker all along. Now these caps here, this one here is a 0.5 microfarad, presumably paper cap, but it's shielded. It says here in small print, shielded end. So this will be the same thing. They're metal encased, probably paper capacitors. And these ones here, which I thought were paper capacitors, are in fact electrolytics. And they will be the cathode bypass cap, and I don't know what the other one is, but there is another electrolytic from the B plus to ground. I suspect it might be this one here that's mounted on top of the chassis. I'm not really sure. I haven't followed it through that far yet. I dare say we'll find out. Well, I can't go much further without putting the field coil in place in terms of testing the chassis. So logically the next step is to replace these filter caps. They might be alright, they don't look all that old, but it is a very messy job, and I just want to make sure that these wires are not going to short or anything as well. I think they're okay, they're cloth covered. This black one though has fractured just there. I'm hoping that the rest of the cord is okay. I'll just check them, make sure there's no shorts. I've just taken this tag strip off here, and I guess the first thing is to rejoin that broken wire. So I've take taken the old one out and I'll just reflow the whole joint and just make it easier. Alright, so next I guess we'll replace these. So we've got the positives going to here, one negative to ground on here, which is attached to the speaker frame, and the other one on here, which goes to the speaker coil, the field coil, the non-groundy side. So I guess I've got a couple of 24s here. They'll fit on more neatly than this. Okay, just put a bit of heat shrink on this frayed field coil wire while I've got the thing apart. And I will be cleaning this up, but I'll give it a preliminary just brush off so I can see what's going on here. It's looking better already. That looks like a bit of just plastic tape over there. Let's just see. Yeah. So I'll push that right up onto there and shrink it on. Yeah, that's a bit messy too, so as well to take it out and clean it up. It's a little bit, it's not too good either. I think it needs some heat shrink. Even if I do replace these, just for now I want that heat shrink on there, as that's the I think the centre tap line. And I put the positive of the other cap, the negative of the other cap in there at the same time. If I put that, just bend it in a little bit and down. We'll just solder that up. Don't know if you saw what I just did, but that could be a problem. I put it the wrong way round. Better than finding out the hard way, I guess. I'll just take it off. Easier said than done, of course, because I've soldered it in pretty solidly. Okay. That'll be all right. All right. Now we just bring this one back to this terminal here, and we're done. Okay, so I've just made up a little wire for the B plus to go through there, and solder that up. I might have to make up some sort of a little cover for this because there's some pretty high voltages on it, and it's fairly accessible where the speaker is. You don't want people sticking their fingers in there. The back of the radio is open, it doesn't have a back on it, so it seems a bit scary having, you know, these voltages floating around there. Some kid could poke their hand in it or something and end up getting zapped. I mean, plate voltage isn't very nice. It won't kill you, but it certainly gets your attention. Now, as it is, that will sit up on this screw here. So yeah, I'll have to think of something a bit tidier than this. While I've got the speaker out though, or while I'm working on the speaker, I might just give it a basic clean up. I'm not sure how I'll treat this. If some of this rust comes off, it might be alright. I might just give it a coat of clear lacquer. I've brushed around here and it doesn't look too bad. Okay, so I'll leave it at that at the moment. Just screw this assembly onto here. This tag strip has been cut at the bottom to accommodate the screw, and so I don't think it's original. I wouldn't have done that in the factory. And in fact, this cord has a grommet on it. Pretty crusty one, but it suggests that this assembly was inside some kind of a box or enclosure. Let's tuck that in. That's just the end of the covering. Now this cord I think is okay. It's reasonably pliable, so I'm going to reuse it unless indicated otherwise by sparks and flames. Just give the cone a bit of a clean out. Take out this little insect nest here. I don't know what that is. Probably hatch into 100 spiders. And while I'm at it, I'll patch up this little tear here in the corner. Okay, so let's just plug the speaker in and I'll put some power on it and just see what happens. That goes in like that. Okay. Now I've clipped this to the plate of the output valve. There's no valve in it at the moment, so I'm just going to see what voltage comes up on it. Now, with the field coil in place, the B plus should now be referenced to ground, and we should get a voltage to ground for B plus. Remember before it was floating on about 20 odd volts. Switching on dim bulb. Nothing happening yet. Coming up. And yes, we now have 310, 11, just coming up slowly, 312 volts to ground on the B plus. Alright, now things are getting a bit scarier now. I'm going to plug in the 6L6 output valve. There we go. I've got this lead clipped on the grid, but I was going to check to see if there was any DC on the grid, but I think what I will do is I'll cut the grid capacitor anyway. There we go. Because there will be B plus on the other side of that. Nothing went bang when I put B plus on the chassis, so I don't think any of these capacitors are shorted as such. So look, let's plug it in, on dim bulb of course, and we'll see what happens. Here goes. We've got a glow from the dim bulb happening, and the B plus is 205.43. It's dropping slightly. I'll see if there's no voltage on the grid. I'll just see if we've got any sound. No, nothing. I just realised that the volume was down when I did that, so I'll put it on dim bulb again. Just see if we get any response this time. 276, dropping back a bit. Oh, this is decided. Oh, click from the speaker. Okay, so I'll turn the volume up then. This one, that's up full. Now I don't expect much gain from the output valve, but I'm getting a slight noise from a speaker. I'll put the microphone over here so you can maybe hear it. So we have signs of life. So I've replaced the grid capacitor for the output valve there. I don't have any of Carl's left. I'll have to order some. And while I was at it, I thought I'd replace the this is the cathode bypass cap. So that's probably a good thing, because looking at them, they weren't all that good. So this is the cathode bypass cap. It's 0.5, and it is a 407k resistor, according to my little Chinese box of wisdom. And this is the cathode bypass. It's a 10 microfarad at 40 volt electrolytic. And just see what it has to say about him. And it's this one is a 20k resistor, 20.9k. So it's even better. Now there's a couple more electrolytics in the chassis. There's this one, which is 4 microfarads at 150 volts, and the one that's mounted on the top of the chassis, its connection is just there. You probably can't see it. That's also 4 microfarads, but at 450 volts. So, sorry, 350 volts. So I'm going to replace both of them. Luckily, I went down to the local electronics shop, and they did have 4 microfarad electrolytics at 450 volts. So I'll replace both of them. Unfortunately, I could only get radial ones, but they'll do the job. And then what I think is I'll plug in the preamp detector valve and see if we've got audio through that as well. So first this one, remembering that the red is positive and it's facing out towards the bottom of the chassis, and I'll clip it there. I'm leaving the leads a bit long because I'll probably do a pigtail to attach those rather than desoldering the whole joint. I think the leads on this are just about long enough to reach from one side to the other. But just out of interest, let's see what this one measures. 4 microfarads at 150 volts, this one is. Let's see what it says. 11.37 nanofarads. So it does think it's a capacitor, not telling us ESR. So I wouldn't have been doing much good anyway. A little bit of flux on him. And I'll just tack him into place there. Before I do a full recap, I'll have to find a way of holding the chassis securely upside down. Working on its side like this is okay, but not all that great. There we go. Actually, probably better up that way. A bit tidier. This one mounted on top of the chassis here is not quite so straightforward, but what I'm going to do is just put this tag strip on that bottom nut there and attach the new one to that, because I don't think it's worth stuffing it. I'll keep it there for appearance, I'll put it back, but I can easily accommodate the cap under the chassis here, so no point in stuffing it, I don't think. Okay, I've replaced that for my cap that was mounted on top. I will put it back after I've cleaned it up. There's a replacement there, and I've replaced a couple of other caps around it because there's no point in resoldering in old caps that you're going to change anyway. Okay, so having replaced those caps, it's time for another test, I think. Just make sure I haven't killed anything. So plugging it in, we're on dim bulb. So here goes. And it's starting to come up again. And V plus is coming up, 350, 455. That's higher than it was before. Oh, now it's dropping again as the output valve starts to conduct. No smoke, no flames, no noise, but there's nothing drastically wrong. Okay, what I might do now, being very brave, is plug in the 6B8, which is the detector preamp, and it goes in here. Okay, on dim bulb, turning on. It's now dropping to 213. So let's see if we get anything if I touch the grid. Yes. So the amp is working. Well, we're making some progress at least. I didn't really expect to have the radio working at this stage. I'm happy that we've got some sound out of the amplifier, that the speaker's working, the field coil's working, the transformer's working. So it's not too bad. And I imagine that next time we'll get the RF section at least making some noise. I hope so. Then there's the cabinet. Now, the more I look at that, the worse it gets. But more of that later. I hope you've enjoyed this first video in the series. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing. I'm only a small channel and it really does help me to keep going. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with an update. Bye for now.